Go for it. Action, activate.
Here we come. There they go. People rise, 'cause they know we're super soldiers. We got cool clothes. You will soon. You see our pose.
Talking over the opening credits.
Action! Energize. Let's go. Time to ride. Combine. Grease ties. Side beam.
Ooh, what's this? The Amazon exclusive Finster, a fantastic looking figure. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Dino Fury Season 2, Episode 2. And I'm Gazbot. This is his Action Activate. And with me, as always, is...
A very jealous big dog of your Finster figure.
No
Very
Finster
cool.
for you? Did you order him and not get him, or did you not order him?
Didn't order him.
Well, maybe there'll be some like leftovers that you can get without the pre-order, but it's a very, very... I haven't even taken him out yet, but it's gorgeous. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but like,
No?
I'm not even a huge like Finster fanboy. Like, oh my gosh, Finster. But when I saw it, I'm like, it just looks so cool.
Might have to dive in soon. But speaking of toys, fun little fact from the intro: the show where you and I got pictures with the Jungle Fury Purple Ranger was 5 years ago this month. Yeah,
Wait, how was that toy news or toy?
because we were at a toy show.
that was Power Morphicon, wasn't it?
No, that was the San Jose toy show.
Oh!
right?
You don't mean De La Torre, the actor. You mean
No,
the
that's why I said
cosplay.
cosplay.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. No one cares.
I care.
Okay. Well, we care, but no one else.
Speaking of things we care about, why are we here?
Well, as I said, we're talking about episode 2, season 2, Dino Fury, now on Netflix exclusively. The first half dropped all the 1-11 episodes. Some people have blown through them all, reviewed them all. We did the first one immediately, or at least I did. And then we put yours up, which is up. Both of us have separate reviews. So if you only watched one, you can check the other one out if you care. But we're on number 2, and it's going to take us weeks to get through them all because we do one a week.
Yep.
What is this one called? It's called like Rave Reviews or...
I don't remember.
The Festival. Rave Reviews. The Festival. Let me put it up here, actually.
Before diving into 2,
Yeah.
I said this offline, but it's so funny how much you and I openly disagree, and we're going to today. I already know it.
Okay.
Openly disagree about episodes, and then the episodes we review alone, we say almost identical things.
Yeah, I watched yours and it was pretty similar. I mean, there was minor variations, but we had very... But also, a lot of times when we talk to each other, we change each other's minds or bring things up. So, like, I think there's something organic about talking to each other that causes conflict, for lack of a better term,
Disagreement.
disagreement, or even just noticing things, or like sometimes like you'll say like, I think this is good, and maybe I think it too, but I'm like, wait a minute, is it? Just like things like that, like just makes you rethink it.
Yeah.
He likes it. It must be terrible.
But we both did B+, which almost never happens.
That's true. That's
I
true.
was staggered.
Staggered.
Speaking of initial impressions before we change each other's minds, what's your initial thoughts of this?
Pleasantly surprised.
I was pleasant, or I guess not pleasantly, but I was slightly disappointed, actually.
Well, I bet you it comes down to expectation. Let me go back to the 2 shot here.
Yes.
The second, the ending couple episodes of Dino Fury season 1, we were both disappointed with.
Yes,
And
very
the
much so.
finale was better than those, but was not good for a finale. We were just like kind of like, we've been disappointed for a few episodes now. We came into season 2 and we're both like, oh, that was a pretty good season opener. That was a good, so we were up. So my thought was the next episode is going to be garbage. It's going to be, hey, Aion learns about ice cream again. It's going to be some stupid, no one cares. And so I was ready for the filleriest of filler of dopey stupid, and it wasn't. And so I was pleasantly surprised. You, however,
The first half, you had me.
Hmm.
Everything was that, but no, I thought the momentum, I didn't think it was going to be good as last episode,
Hmm.
but I thought it was going to be slightly worse, and not like, I feel like this episode regressed a lot of the progress we got in the previous episode.
well, it didn't walk back any storylines, but you mean just in terms of the quality that we had gotten to.
The quality in certain character development.
Okay, well,
like prime example, I think Aion is a total dolt, whereas last episode I did not think that.
Yes. Well, we're talking about the episode now, so let me throw that back up. We'll get to that. I unfortunately, while I like the episode more than you, this was another example of, Aion is the worst one on the team, unfortunately. Yep. But we don't start with that. We start with what seems like some shambling monster coming into the base, and they're like, "Oh, it's a Sporks that just wandered in," and he's like, "No, it's me." What was his name? Wreckmate, yeah. I knew it was like a shipwreck mixed with chess. Wreckmate. Now, I remember this character, but I'm like, how did he die? What happened? And what I do like, I like a lot of the humor in this episode. I'll say that.
Yes.
And they did the thing twice. They had two things where they didn't really explain how he came back, but they acknowledged it. And the second time, they even that doesn't make sense. Did he repair himself? How did that even? And I'm like, no, it doesn't work. Again, great. This is the kind of stuff we suggest all the time.
Yep.
You don't have time to film it. You don't have a really good reason to bring him back, but you acknowledge that somehow he got rebuilt, and okay, here he is. And I appreciate that.
Yep. I think so too. I think, again, aesthetically, probably in the top 5 monsters that I like this season. Really cool. He's obviously not a Sporks beast, but I think he's a cool monster general, whatever. Kind of like the little dispute between him and Slither.
I love that.
The thing that I found odd is when Slither pulled out his potion, after how tricky he was last episode, I thought it was going to be a thing where he was going to be like, "Ha, he drank it, now I'm going to win."
Sure. When he just yoinked it and Slither was just kind of like, "Oh," I thought for sure it was a sabotage thing.
Yeah.
And I was a little disappointed that it wasn't.
Same.
I also didn't understand. By the end of the episode, I'm like, oh, well, I still don't quite understand. Because it looked like he took it. Oh my God, Wreckmate. I'm not going to remember that name for some reason. Wreckmate is like, I drank every drop and it's all mine. Okay, so he used it up, clearly. Weird that he would use it in the base, but I guess he's going to go fight immediately. So fine. But then he used it like 3 or 4 more times in the episode.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I guess it just recharges and refills. But then at the very end, he's like, oh, finally empty. So I'm like, what is happening with this bottle?
Yeah. At first, I in the middle of the episode, I was like, well, Slither establishes that he has magic.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's magic and it slowly replenishes. But then that went out the window when he's like, it is empty. It's like,
great.
Oh, okay then.
And not like I better wait till it refills or save it for I think he physically chucks it if I remember correctly.
I think so too.
But I do like the rivalry set up between them. It's an interesting dynamic to have the villains fighting amongst themselves always. Yeah. I also, and then Mucus is like, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to use this term, but I don't mean it as weird as it sounds. I low key ship Slither and Mucus, not in a romantic way.
I like them as a duo.
Yeah, I like that she's sort of weirdly loyal to him or interested in him, and I would like it if it ends. And they've been kind of paired together a few times. She sticks to him, haha. But I would like it if at the end, whatever happens, they end up walking, kind of like Jindrax and Toxic.
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah, they just end up walking off into the sunset together. Like they didn't win, but they're gonna go do something.
Yeah,
open a used car dealership or something, or put on a magic show. That would be amazing.
That would actually be pretty great.
A magical theater, and that would be okay. That's the ending I want. I don't care about bringing back past Rangers or tying up storylines. I just want to see them open up a theater in the regular world as humans.
Yeah. Yeah. I do like how immediately when they're squabbling, Void Knight's like, go fight the Rangers. Yeah. And then they turn it into a competition themselves.
That's
again,
the best leadership he's ever shown.
Two lines of dialogue is all it takes for so many of these things of what happened. I'm back. No, we got to do this. Okay. Great so far.
So far, you're on board with this episode.
Yeah, thus far.
Me too. Pardon me. So now Zato and Aion get a call and they think there's an emergency or something. There's not. It's like, oh, it's happy Triple Sunday. It's Happy Life Day. We're gonna have a thing for you guys.
Triple Sunday would actually be better than Triple Sun Festival. Well done.
but okay, that's fine. That I got no problem with any of that. And they're like, oh, cool. And Ion's really excited, like a little kid. And Zato's sort of like, oh, I'm touched, like an adult. And they get Aion this weird prop motorcycle.
Yeah.
Which is just odd. I guess to a little kid it wouldn't be noticeable, but I don't know motorcycles. I'm not a car guy. but it's obviously some kind of weird older model that seems to be missing pieces, and it's on like a pedestal. Like the wheels aren't even on the ground. It's just odd. I don't know why they couldn't find a real motorcycle. Like, I don't understand.
The thing that like bothered is the wrong word, but like
It
right
didn't
when they
bother me. It perplexed me.
well, no, not with that, but like last episode he didn't know what a library was. But
Yes.
this episode he's like, I have frequently been watching videos on motorcycles online.
That's okay.
Yes, have one, not the other. Take out the library thing from the last
No.
episode or keep this.
Well, I'll buy that because they've been inconsistent with aliens' knowledge of our world. That's
Earth
given.
practices.
Yes, but I took it as he sees everyone on their phones and computers, knows how to look stuff up on there. But a library, what's that? Like, because like, yeah, like a lot of people, especially younger people, would never go to a library. So why would he know that? But that brings
Fair.
up the question: why wouldn't they just look it up on the computer instead of going to a library? But that's a whole other thing. That didn't bother me too much, only because it's been established that it's inconsistent. So I've I've moved beyond complaining about that. And honestly, the weird prop motorcycle didn't bother me because for the target audience, they're not going to notice. It's just like from behind the scenes, like, why did they?
I think that's what they had, and they went, "Here you go."
I think you're right. Yeah. But so they do that, and then this I thought was weird. He's like, take a picture of me. It'll be my new Buzz Blast profile. And in the background of the picture is the Ranger's base and a cybernetic dinosaur. Maybe they could crop around
and
that.
Every other person in the room
is a Power Ranger. Yes. I don't know. It was just not a big thing, but just weird.
Yep.
And I guess I'm like, why not take it outside? But I'm like, because this thing will never be outside or driven or moved. And then Zato gets, I don't know if it's a better or worse present, but it's weird. Like, it's basically a Ranger power up, which normally you would just get for being on the team. I also got the impression that Ollie put all the work into this.
Yes.
He's like, everyone will sign the card, basically.
Yep. Yeah, I thought these were cool. I'm assuming they're an American-only weapon, but I don't know. Either way, I like them up until this point.
Yeah, I also assume they're American-only, but I don't know. And as much as I'm making a joke about how it's like a Ranger weapon that is like a present for him, it's kind of like, oh, honey, for your birthday, I got you a vacuum, like that kind of stupidity thing. But that aside, I do appreciate that they actually explained where a new weapon came from.
Yeah.
So,
I liked that as well.
And he wants to try him. And Zolan.
I think it's Zolan.
I always get that wrong. Zolan's like, yeah, not in here because they're powerful. And he's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Hey, let's go do whatever. And then Aion's like, oh, I got to prove I'm the worst character in the show. Because he doesn't just pick him up and swing him around once. He swings him around a lot. And props to the actor. He clearly learned how to do some nunchuck flipping around stuff because it's clearly him and not, so good. But this wasn't the best way to showcase it because then it even starts glowing. I thought like, it'll start glowing and he'll put it down and it'll be too late or something. But no, he keeps playing and then he makes this face.
Yeah.
And then it hits some stuff and he doesn't tell anybody and then they get the alarm. That was the worst part of the episode. That was dumb.
This plot point irritates me so much because, like I said, it's a regression.
I take it as, once again, inconsistency. And unfortunately, and I feel bad if I ever meet this actor because it's always that thing of like the actor versus the character, but like he's just not a well-written character. He's inconsistent and I feel like he's supposed to be the cool one. You know what I mean? Like he's like younger and he kind of doesn't care and he's got the cool hair and he's got the gold powers. He's like, I feel like he's the one that like we should be like, oh, he's cool, but he's not.
So here's a comparison mostly for you and for some viewers. You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Kiba Ranger, but without any of the charm or redeeming qualities.
Kiba Ranger from Die Ranger.
Correct.
I could see that, but Kiba Ranger was a child, which is
why
it
I again.
Yeah.
He looks cool. He's got cool Ranger stuff. In every fight, he's very useful. I like his Zord. And then every other time, he just irritates everybody and does dumb things. And this, like you said, has no real reason for it other than derp. I'm breaking things and being quiet about it.
And like clearly it's supposed to be like, him learning a lesson, but like I guess the lesson is don't be reckless and fess up to your mistakes. And like, it's weird. And then he gives up his motorcycle, spoilers at the end, but it's like, of course you give up your motorcycle.
Well, we'll get there. I had a huge problem with that entire scene.
Okay, so they head out. They get two signals because they split up. So here's Slither and Mucus, and they do their thing, and they show up. I'm forgetting some of the specific jokes, the verbal jokes that are told, but I liked almost every joke in this episode.
Yeah. One thing before you move off of this, Izzy, best pose. Everybody else, nothing against them, but Izzy is just like chewing the scenery here.
Yeah, which is a shame because this is Javi's big moment to do the morphin time.
Yeah, but
she also has that double smash, which I've talked about before.
Yeah, she's just owning it.
Yeah, so they get into the fight. This is one joke I do remember where she gets shot and she's like, "Oh, my caboose," and he's like, "Not her caboose."
The caboose gets brought up often.
Yes, yeah, that was fun. Slither had a lot of good lines. Like I said, all of the jokes were fine or good. There were none that made me go, which again is like, why are different writers, different editors? Why is it like this? Oh, no, Jane or Jayborg. I just realized this episode.
No, anybody other than Rangers.
Yeah. It was. I mean, arguably, this is a filler episode. Okay, well, I guess this will be something we'll discuss later.
Yeah.
At the end. So they have the fight, and basically, Slither starts losing, so he runs away.
Yeah.
And then Shipwreck. God.
Wreck Mate.
There's a G.I. Joe character called Shipwreck, which is why that keeps coming out of my mouth. Yep. Wreckmate powers up and basically
just owns everyone.
Yeah. He's just shrimp. Oh, there's a thing here where he's stepping on her, and then Zato's like, "I'm gonna tell you the one time, step off," which is almost terrible, but still
I found it endearing.
I still kind of liked it. Yeah. Oh, and I even better the joke. He's like, "I'm gonna leave," and there's a good like, whoa, he really got wrecked, and he shoots him while in midair. Like I thought that was cool. Made me think of a video game, like an air combo.
Yeah, I liked that of like, oh, he can't handle another hit, and then he just blasts the other two immediately after. Loved it.
But he's going to get the nunchucks, obviously, the dino chucks. But he's like, "Burb," and then I'm like, "What did he say?" And Pink's like, "I told him it's BRB." That was a good joke.
Loved it.
Yeah.
And because here's the thing, and the more episodes we watch of this, the more I love. I think Russell Curry's the name of the Red Ranger.
He's like 31 or something.
That's not that old.
No, but he's supposed to be a teen. How old are you, Big Dog?
30.
Well, so you got a year left of trying to be a Power Ranger. I'm already having to be Arthur from Dino Charge, but
there you go.
No, I only mentioned that because the
others
I know. Are either teenagers or supposed to be 20 or like, it's like, wow, good for him. He's pulling it off. Like, had someone not told me that, I never would have thought, oh, he's the old one on the group. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he definitely does everything well. And the thing I like, kind of like we were saying of why we don't like Aion, Zato is the alien who full sends everything where it's like burb. And he could have delivered that super weird and hammy, but he didn't. He's just like, as if it's a normal line, and then she's like,
he thinks that's how it's said. He's
exactly
not like waiting for applause or laugh. Yeah, it's crazy. He's really won me over. And again, I feel bad because it's like praising one damns the other, but it's like no other character. Like Ollie, I thought was gonna be my favorite. I've said this many times. And Ollie's, bye. I don't care about you. But yeah, Zato was like a slow burn from the beginning. And he's by far the best character on the show to me.
Yeah,
he's a competent leader, but he's charming and funny, and like
I've been doing my best to avoid Twitter spoilers, but there's a couple channels I follow that have watched these or are watching them. And one thing that is spoiler free because I don't know any of the context is they said, "All right, so after watching all 11 episodes of season 2, I have confirmed I still don't like Ollie." And I'm like, well, seems on brand.
Yeah.
I
think I liked where they were setting him up to be in the beginning, but he hasn't been that basically.
The thing about him, just what we've seen so far, they set him up a certain way, and he hasn't lived up to that expectation, and he hasn't even lived up to I like the Pink Ranger. He hasn't done either.
No, I feel like that's going to be a thing at like the last episode after they win. He's going to like kiss her on the cheek, or she's going to kiss him on the cheek, and be like, oh, like.
Yeah, I don't know, but good fight though overall.
Yes, it is a good fight, especially if it's American. So he comes in with the Dino Chucks, and they explode, and he gets hurt, and Wreckmate gets hurt.
There we go.
Wreckmate gets hurt. And so they leave too, and Wreckmate's like, well, I'm gonna go fight the other guys then. And what I didn't like was that Mucus is there all alone, and she's like, oh, I hope Slither. And I thought when this happened, like there's some blast, stupid me. I thought, oh, Slither, he made his tactical retreat, but he's coming back, and now he has his thing. But like, no, he really just left Mucus, and I was like, oh, what?
He just bounced and again.
Yeah.
Oh, don't hit my caboose.
Yeah. So he shows up and he's like, get out of here, Mucus. And then he wrecks this team as well. And but again, there's that weird potion thing where like, well, how does this potion work exactly?
Yeah,
but whatever.
I don't know.
And he gets back and they start arguing. And meanwhile, back at Dino Base, they're all beaten. Oh, I didn't even notice they had ice packs last time.
I know that they were all recovering from like physical thing. Oh, another joke that I liked is Javi gets hit and he's like, oh, my shoulder. Looks like no keytar for me.
Yes, yeah, that was good. Yeah, whoever was doing the comedy this episode, more of that person doing that, please.
Yeah, and whoever wrote Aion into a bumbling idiot, please stop.
Yeah, stop. I want to like him.
Yeah, I can't.
But here's the question: is it better to be a character that is not doing great and might be getting things that are making you disliked, or be a character that's just like forgettable and like you don't think about like Ollie has basically become that character where it's like, what is he? Nothing. I mean, he
is forgettable.
He's just in the background all the time. Well, I guess arguably last episode, the thing with his mom, but like on a episode by episode basis, I definitely notice Aion. I don't like him, but I'm very aware he's there all the time. Where sometimes I forget about Javi or Izzy or some of the other characters from time to time.
Well, and I don't like putting him on this pedestal, but 6 Rangers are on a pedestal. Like that's they come in because they are supposed to be the cool people that buff the team. They're supposed to have something very interesting about them. Usually they have their own arcs because you need to care about them to buy their stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Honestly, like that's what it is half the time.
That was the arc he had in the very first episode that could have been really interesting that they wrapped up immediately. The whole thing of him not trusting Zato and like, yeah, he could have been sort of like a frenemy, or like he had no problem with the other Rangers and I'll help you, but every time he says Zato, like, get out of here, like I refuse to work with him, kind of thing. That could have been interesting.
Like if you did a compilation of that episode of him leading the team and being competent for like 3 minutes until he went, oh, I don't know what to do in this Zord and we're gonna die. And then this episode of him going, then you're like, oh, what are you doing? Like I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah. So he not only wrecks the Chucks, but wrecks all of these spare parts that are important that we were unaware of.
Yeah. And some of which Zolan made a point of saying, like, how, cybernetic eyes need upgrading or whatever. This could have even been parts for her, which is worse than not.
It looks like in the second row there might be an eye there.
When I'm looking at the top, it's like the same kind of coppery color of the stuff that she's built out of. So it's like, it's not cool.
Yeah.
And the fact that he didn't bring it up at all. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too. When he did it, we saw it hit that and do something bad. It's the equivalent of punching a hole in your wall and then somebody being like, why is there a hole in your wall? Oh, I was hoping you didn't notice.
Yeah, because the Chucks you might have thought were okay, but clearly that was damaged. And then we forgot to mention, but the Chucks completely explode. So that's the end of them for this episode, which also lends credibility to it's American only because I wonder if there's a toy out. I haven't been following the toys, but they haven't been doing a good job.
There might have been. I don't know. But yeah, so he wrecks a bunch of stuff. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, but gabagool."
Yeah, gabagool. But then Zato, the good leader that he is like, "Hey, let's look in the legendary archives and see if we could find something." Now, this is interesting because with like Grid Battle Force and other teams, it's sort of like an acknowledgement of like, "Hey, we know there've been Power Rangers. We're tapping into this force, blah blah blah." But up to this point, it didn't seem like this was going to be one of those teams.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They met Mick, but it seemed like, oh, I guess there was Rangers in another galaxy and whatever, but like this is like, oh yeah. And also we have a database of all the teams that came before us. It doesn't bother me, but it did seem to like not quite match up with the vibe they were going for.
Yeah. This is another one where Zato knowing this, totally reasonable. Aion knowing any of this, totally unreasonable.
Yeah. But I like that one of the first things they do is like, well, let's see what's a really great team. Oh yeah, Samurai and the Fire Smasher. And I was like, oh yeah. Are we gonna get a Fire Smasher? Let's do it. And then like, no, we can't make those ninja spin things. I don't know how to make them. Like,
But again, one line solved this instead of like, let's keep looking.
Right, and it solved it. And whatever you think of Samurai, and like I I joke it up, but I do like that season. But whether you like it or hate it, it gives it venerates it in a way because okay, we can't make it. And it's not that you can't make the sword, but like their specific power source, those spin discs, that's something special to them. That's a secret that they have.
I don't even know what they're made out of.
Right. It makes that team unique. Yeah, we're all Power Rangers, but there's differences. And that's a specific, we're not going to be able to replicate that. And so that's cool to me, like to honor the past teams that way.
Yeah.
And then they talk about, so then they talk about Ninja Storm and they can't make this because her part is broken. But at this point, I was like, oh, Samurai, Ninja, and then they show Mighty Morphin and they show Wild Force with the motorcycles. Then they show Ninja Steel. So I'm like, it seems like a little bit of a Ninja Samurai theme. And I thought they were like foreshadowing something. But then when they threw the other ones in, I'm like, maybe this means nothing.
Yeah.
But I think on a base level, it's either just fan service, which I hope it's more than that. Or it's like, hey, for people who, who've only seen the last season or two, kids or whoever, there's these other Rangers, and maybe some Rangers from these seasons we just showed are going to be showing up maybe in a finale crossover of some sort.
Something, yeah.
And that would be cool, especially because, hey, Samurai's in there.
I also like that a lot of times, I mean, you can only call a super mega blast so many different things after a while. So what I like is when they end up tweaking his motorcycle, they're like, oh, this thing does a plasma shot or something.
Yeah.
And then what is their ability? That same thing because they copied it. Totally fine. Love it.
Me too. And I actually like the design of the bike, even though the CGI got a little wonky. But yeah, I like that too, that they were like, oh, the bikes fire plasma. We made a bike that fires plasma. I agree. I absolutely agree.
Two things I hated about this scene, going back to the negative.
Yeah.
Right away, Zato is like, you were a moron. Why did you do this? And then he's like, oh, poor me. I just was a dummy. And then he's like, all right, come on. Let's figure this out together. You guys are
He's
weird
trying to do
with
a good leader.
I know.
This guy has the gold power. He's got to keep him on the team.
The emotional highs and lows are throwing me for a loop. And then after this, when he's like, you guys can use my bike, and then he's like all selfless about it. It's like, no, you're a moron. You shouldn't operate anything.
That was weird that it came off as I mean, I guess this is again for the little kids, but it's like
just dumb. I hated it.
If he wasn't responsible for the nunchucks being destroyed and like putting them in a position where they have no parts, it would be a bit of a sacrifice. Still, arguably, hey, the world's at stake. Give up your motorcycle. But it'd be like, oh, well, okay, the world comes first. The team comes first. Wow. But it's like, no, this is your fault. This is like, even if the world,
we should have commandeered it because you shouldn't be trusted walking.
Yeah, it should have been given up. Yeah, it would have had more weight. Yeah, just take out the whole part. Take out the entire nunchuck part. Have the nunchucks and fight with them, and they work or they don't work or whatever, or they blow up. But Aion never touches them. And we get to this part, and it's like, oh, my bike. Yeah, you can have my bike. That's way better. It's the same
lesson. Because then we don't hate him, and he's not an idiot.
It's the same lesson. It makes him look like a better guy. Yeah, they got to pad the runtime, I guess, or I don't know. I don't know.
You mean padding the runtime with dialogue that they're doing right here? That would be way easier than a fully choreographed montage of him spinning around weapons he shouldn't be playing with?
Yeah, something like that. Or even just show more footage of past Ranger. Show another minute of that. Fine. Who cares? But also, this is going to sound weird, and maybe not. If Jane and Jayborg were in this episode, you could have had them bump the case, drop the case, do something goofy with the case that messes up the nunchucks. That's fine because they're the comedic characters, not the hero who's supposed to be as cool as the leader. And now, all that being said, this comes back to the inconsistency. He comes in, and here's Wreckmate. I'm going to get it now that we're at the end of the episode. Here's Wreckmate, and he's... Oh, wait, why is there sound? There shouldn't be sound. Sorry. It's going to get a copyright strike. No, sound, go away. Come again.
I think you need to quit auto-clicking it.
Yeah, I had it turned off totally. And he walks into the shot because he knew he was in the middle of a power-up and he'd be protected. This is awesome. This is fantastic. The swagger, the timing, and I love the suit, all of it. And then
it's Sentai footage.
It's fantastic. I love it. It's so good.
Yep.
But but it doesn't really fit with what we've seen. It's so weird.
It's almost as if the Gold Ranger and Aion are two different people.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. The other issue I have with this is basically in his powered up form, he's holding his own against Wreckmate with his power up. which is weird because earlier he fought the 3 Rangers and wiped the floor with them. It's like, why didn't Aion power up?
Or
Aion
Zeta with the fire armor, or with
Zato.
the MacGuffin keys,
Yeah,
anything.
it seems to be very inconsistent and fine, whatever. But he's holding his own. Then Wreckmate gets in one good hit, right? And then he's like, oh yeah, he's just wrecking him. Wreckmate gets in one good hit right before he powers down. And then he's like, oh, I've powered down. Now he's weaker. He was at least equally matched and then he had one hit. Somehow that one hit, he's like, oh, what can I do? Oh, I got hit with a chain. And Wreckmate's still wrecking him. It's like, he should be like way more powerful than Wreckmate now. Like, I didn't quite get that. And we already talked about how the potion being empty kind of didn't make sense either.
Yeah.
But obviously it's so that the motorcycle could come in and save him.
Yeah.
But it just, the timing of it seemed weird. It was basically like, oh, with my power up, I could beat him. Fine. He could have kept his motorcycle, but
I was going to say it almost makes more sense if he lost the potion effect after the motorcycle came.
Yes, but then again, it's also like, then what, like the whole point, and it's like, well, that's the time, but somebody wrote this. The whole point is they need that motorcycle. Without that motorcycle, they can't beat him with the potion. Once the potion's gone, it's like, well, then why did we even need the motorcycle exactly? Yeah. Like, and I understand to sell the toy, to have it be in the show, but just have the potion last another 2 minutes then. Like, I don't know.
So we get this cool montage little intro of the motorcycle coming in. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool. And then I like the way they cut back to reality. And for a minute, I thought there was only a CGI version of this, but then I'm pretty sure there is an actual physical prop was made as well.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if that's the same motorcycle that the toy is, which is also kind of a pain.
That is weird. I haven't seen the toy, but that is.
I've seen a toy, and it doesn't look like that.
If they have a toy motorcycle that doesn't match that, and then this also comes out, I have zero problem with it because they've always made stuff up. But if they don't have this, then that's annoying. Yeah. These helmets are really cool. I've probably said before, but just like these suits are really
cool. Very awesome.
Which again comes back to like, I don't really like the Beast Morpher suits and that, or the Zords that much, like, and that showed me. And this one, I'm like, it looks so cool. Here we go. No, it's the Tokyuger effect. For Sentai, I literally started watching that. Like, this looks like the dumbest suits and Zords I've ever seen. And I was almost crying at the end of that show. It was so good. It's like, it's so weird.
Yeah, the armor they have is cool. And speaking of inconsistencies, this doesn't bother me as much, but it's something of note is like, you guys keep bringing up these MacGuffin keys all the time, and then you don't use them when it seems like you need them.
They didn't even try. It's not like, well, we tried all our keys. Yeah.
And I get their Sentai footage restraints, and I totally understand that. But like, maybe I hate it when we come up with a very reasonable way that like this doesn't work. So Aion does his ridiculous thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so he breaks the thing and jams it so they can't access their keys.
Yep. That would have been great. Yeah. All right. Anyway.
We're available for work for hire.
Go back to base, and hey, here's the cakes. Now, look at that. 6 cakes. One of those cakes would be more than enough for all of them.
Flargon cakes, right?
Flargon cakes. Yeah. What do you think they taste like? Because I have a thought.
I feel like they taste like algae.
Oh, I thought they taste like Fruity Pebbles.
They look like Fruity Pebbles. I feel like the prevalence of green means there's like some kind of like plant base in there that some people like and other people hate.
Well, before they got, just from a human point of view, I'm like, that looks like Fruity Pebbles to me, so it looked delicious. But this is another example of like, it wasn't top tier, my favorite comedy in the world, but it was fine. This is like, they have a tradition on their planet. You eat it, and I knew where they were going. I thought they were going to like smash their face.
That's what I thought too.
So the fact that they didn't do that, I'm like, oh, okay, this is like a reasonable tradition. We have things like this on Earth, like where you might have to do this. And I guess that's why they're so big, because everyone gets their own, whatever.
Yeah.
But I did like, because I thought, oh, well, it's alien food. I wonder if everyone's going to like it. And they show Amelia, and she's like, oh, it's delicious. Oh, that's a great face. And then everyone else is like, bleh. And I'm like, oh, was she pretending? And it's like, no, she's just the weirdo that likes the alien food, which fits her character perfectly. So it was as close to like a slapsticky ending as I've ever seen that I enjoyed everything about. I had no problem with.
Yeah, so, I liked it. Again, like Aion, man, he's your big problem.
Well, so here's the thing. I expected it to be a terrible episode, and I don't think it was. I think Aion is not a great character, and this is more of Aion being not great, but yet having an awesome fight scene. So again, kind of inconsistent. But that part aside, I thought there was really good fights. There was interesting developments in the villain side, and because Wreckmate doesn't go away, he's still there. Now there's this other dynamic, and there was no bad jokes. There was a lot of good jokes. It was sort of a filler episode, but there was a little bit of forward momentum on a few things, and so I felt it was just like a really solid, good episode. But you don't feel that. Matter of fact, I'll say I give it a B. I give it a B.
So the whole time we've been going through, I've been teetering between C+ and B-.
Okay.
And honestly, it's because I agree with what you're saying. It's if I let everything with Aion bother me enough to bump it down or to leave it. And I agree where we got to see, forward movement with them acknowledging Ranger teams and kind of showing that with the Chucks and with the bike, they can develop their own tech and use inspiration from previous teams. Only real limitations are inherent powers that are specific to those teams that they acknowledge. And yeah, I'll put B-, but Aion is really ruining it for me, man.
I agree with you that Aion wasn't good, but it wasn't bad enough. But yeah, it's weird because like bad Aion isn't as bad Jane and Jayborg, which seems counterintuitive because they're comic relief, so who cares? Whereas he's a ranger, but his worst is never as bad as their average.
But here's the thing, as we showed in this episode, they're not always needed, but sometimes they're thrown in. Yeah. He is an essential part of the show.
I know, and it's tough because he's like if they come out with a figure of him with that like awesome, I want it, and like that, it does. It's funny because one of our followers, Matt Moniker, has been watching Ryusoulger, which I've watched none of, and talking about the differences between. Thank you for that, by the way. You could check all the reviews we've done. He's been putting full things for anybody that's interested, comparing the differences, and I don't have the time to do this, but I want to go watch Ryusoulger just to see what is the Gold Ranger in that, because it seems like he's awesome, or is he equally not great and just has good fight scenes? Like I don't know, so
he obviously similar to you. Like I want to watch all of Tokusatsu, but I probably won't. But it is a thing where like I hate having to repeat this so many times, and I haven't last episode, but it's like you've shown you have the capacity to do good. You guys stop not doing good when you can, and there's not like a reasonable excuse. Like we've talked about it, there's stuff that we don't like in certain episodes that we're like, it was cheaper to do it that way. I don't like it, but I get it.
That's an example of like the motorcycle prop.
This is
acknowledging it because we're adults nitpicking, but really it's fine. Who cares?
But it's a thing of like there isn't an excuse other than just like that was a choice that I think is inherently bad. Like I don't know who has a bone to pick with Aion, but it's like we almost need like the Snyder cut of like, here's Aion not being an idiot all the time.
If they made him more of a hotshot, more of like a flamboyant, like because like that's in fights, that's how he seems, like Mosa Blast, blah, 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 and just like a big loudmouth, over the top character that was like good in a fight and stuff, and then was like that in real life too, where he's like, yo, look at me, I'm gonna tell jokes and jump on the table and blah, blah, blah. And then he did dumb mistakes. It would be like, okay, he's this big loud personality that makes mistakes, but he's awesome in a fight, and like, but it's like he seems kind of like it just doesn't match. It just doesn't match.
They don't know where to put him, so they keep trying to put him everywhere and he fits nowhere, kind of thing.
I think that like, they don't want him to be like Zato because they have two aliens and they want him to be different, and they are very different, but like I feel like they know what they want Zato to be, and he's that, and Aion is just like
I feel like they know what everybody is supposed to do except for him. And even though like we said, Ollie, we don't always like what he does, but like we could tell you what he does do.
He's the not as good Billy, basically. But even just looking at the Sentai footage, like again, it's easy to armchair quarterback. Is that how they say it when you watch sports? It's easy to do that. But just looking at the Sentai footage, like I said, make him the hothead, make him the over the top, kind of arrogant one. And maybe he learned some lessons about that. But like have him be making jokes and hey, look at me, almost like a Steel or a Robo Knight, kind of like, or not Robo Knight, Steel, like, or like, hey, look at me, like, and he's an alien on Earth, and it would be good too because Zato is very much like, well, I don't know what's going on here, but we have a serious job to do, and he's like, whoa, this is crazy. Hey,
have you guys tried this ice cream? There's a guy who has it at the
these are
park.
great.
Blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
and but in a way that like he's drinking that, he's eating the ice cream, and everyone's like, Aion, Aion, you know, just thinking he's this crazy party guy, you know, like that would be awesome. And then he goes into a fight, and it's that same thing where he's just like lightning everywhere, you know, like
I don't know, but I've overall heard good things about these 11 episodes. We got one really good one pretty good one.
I still think this one is better than like the last 6 episodes of season 1.
Yeah, I agree, but that just shows how much season 1 was not great.
I think you're being harder on this episode than I am, and I don't.
Yeah.
think I'm
1,000%. And it's more. I'm being hard on Aion, and that's what's dragging down my view of the episode.
Yes, and I agree with your assessment, just not the severity of it.
Yeah, there's so many Rangers that I've been thinking of when we watch him this episode alone, where I'm like, oh, like he's kind of doing what Jack did or like he could be like what Jack was in Wild Force, where he's like, you know, the guy who's there, but he's got a good heart. But like sometimes when it comes to the brain plans, he's not always the best. Like they did a whole episode about that. But it's like at the end of the day, he's reliable, he's loyal, he's strong, he does all that. Aion kind of doesn't do
and
that.
I think, like you said, the problem is he's the 6th Ranger too. So putting aside tradition and what we expect, the Sentai footage is going to heavily feature a 6th Ranger. So he can't just be a solid, dependable guy in the back. He's got to be more than that.
I'd accept that at this point, because that's kind of what Merrick was.
No, that's who was Merrick?
Yeah.
No, but Merrick had like interesting backstory with
because he had the Jekyll Hyde thing.
He had the Jekyll Hyde thing, and Merrick had a lot more interesting stuff going on. Yeah, well,
yeah, tell me more. Tell me more about a well-written 6th Ranger. I'd like to hear it.
2 things I want to mention before the end. Well, A, if you're able to get the Finster figure, get it. It's great. I also recently got the Astronema Eclipse 2-pack came in. Also great. A few other things. Both of those, if you're able to get them, get them. I think they're both Amazon exclusives, right?
I don't think they. Finster might be.
Finster
the other one is not.
Okay. Well, Finster definitely is. The other one maybe not. But my experience with those is that they're really easy to get until they're not, and then they're super expensive. So don't wait. The other 2 things is I did a video about this separately, but we didn't talk about it on the show. Steve Andreno, who played Babu, who has been on the show a few times, friend of the show. His wife has been going through some health problems. We set up a GoFundMe. I actually haven't had time to put an update yet, but things are not over and perfect, but things are doing a little bit better. We've gotten a lot of donations. Thank you to everyone who's donated. They've been able to use them to buy some of the things she needs. And so things are trending good, but we're going to keep the GoFundMe open. I'll put a link below. So if you're interested in helping or sharing, feel free to donate there to help one of the Ranger community. And on a more positive note, Big Dog, I don't even know if I told you about this, but I posted about it publicly just recently. There's a show called The Con Hour, which actually Steve Andreno has been on, which is how I got connected to them somehow. I'm going to be on that show, not together. They booked me as an artist and as someone who goes to conventions a lot, but we are also going to be talking about Power Rangers and Action Activate because they found that out secondary. But it wasn't like I was muscling you out. They just
I saw you post it, and full transparency, just to you, A, as my friend, and B, to anybody else. Anytime Gaz is on something like this, for example, it is because he also does things other than the show that would qualify him for this appearance, like art for official Ultraman stuff or Tokusatsu stuff, or like does conventions that I don't do. Like outside of the show, we both do things, so I am in no way offended or feel left out.
But that being said, we're more than happy to go be on someone else's show as a duo.
Also true.
Yes, but it was a case where they invited me, and then after that, they're like, "Oh, we'll talk about your Power Ranger show and stuff too." So if you're interested in hearing about me and this show and whatever, that'll be this week. It'll be live Friday. It's 4:30 California time, so you got to do the math wherever you are. So I think there's gonna be like Q&A and that kind of stuff. But it should be a good time. So technically, I'll be on. You can see me twice this week. Anything you want to throw out there?
The only thing I learned is speaking of Tokusatsu that we both want to watch. I brought it up to you, I think, offline. But if anybody has Tubi, it's a app. As far as I know, you don't need to pay for it because I don't.
Commercials or
it has commercials, but very limited commercials, like less frequently than YouTube videos in the best way. And I found on there a bunch of Ultraman, a bunch of Kamen Rider, and Super Sentai from Zoo Ranger to like Time Ranger.
Wow.
Yeah, so I am most excited though about all of Kamen Rider 01 on there, which I actually
Is that
was.
the one that's like a bright yellow highlighter color?
It's like green and
Yeah,
and black. Yeah,
like my car.
yeah, pretty much exactly.
Okay, yeah, that looks cool. That is very exciting. I recently, I don't know if they're still on sale, but building off what you just said, I recently got Ultra Q, Ultraman, and Ultraman 7. Like the first 3 or 4
And like
Blu-ray
Return to
sets.
7 or something.
Yeah, I forget. There was the first 3 or 4. Now I'm forgetting because I had one already. But they're the Steelbook Blu-ray sets, and they were like $10 each, shipped. For I think it was Best Buy, but I posted about it on my Twitter a while ago. Check it if it's still there. But it was like I didn't even really need like 2 or 3 of them. I already had in some form or another. But I'm like, Blu-ray Steelbook for $10, yeah. And then, but now the problem is it's this new the new releases perfected it up, made better, but they all match really nicely. So now it's like, oh, I feel like now I want to get the whole set, but yeah, whatever. But anyway, Tubi or look for these things on sale.
Yeah, TUBI.
But in the meantime, I have been Gazbot.
Still Big Dog Defender.
And
To the power. I didn't have any credits to talk over on my episode.
Oh yeah, yes, true. And when I was watching it, I'm like, oh, there was no intro or whatever, but that's because I would have had to do editing and stuff, and I'm like,
nah, we're not about that here.
Yeah, I'm looking at my shelf. The other Power Ranger figure I got the 2-pack of Zeo Pink and Pat as Mighty Morphin.
Ooh, I need that for sure.
Nice. I am getting really sick of Pink not matching. Yeah. I don't know if you've noticed this, but like
the helmet and the body.
The body and the arms, like if it was just the helmet, it would bother me less. But it's like there's some kind of rubber they're using here, and like figure it out. Like how many? I don't know. But I keep buying them because like I want them. But I'm equally excited and worried that they're going to re-release all the pink in the correct color, which I don't want to happen because I don't have to rebuy them. But I'm also like probably rebuy them.
Grumble, grumble. Hasbro overlords.
I have to put a pre-order in for the NECA Usagi Yojimbo.
That came out. That pre-order started today. Yeah.
That and the Neutrinos. So they just took down all the Crooked Ninja Turtle stuff, which I didn't care about. So if you like NECA Ninja Turtles, you have a week to get the Neutrinos or Usagi. And I'm definitely getting Usagi. I don't know about the Neutrinos. If I could get one, I don't know. It's expensive for the 3 of them. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Goodbye.